5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to this partner matchmaking evening here in our Stockholm studio, Södermalm office, Sweden. And we welcome everybody who is here in the studio, but also all of our online visitors from all over the world. We will have some change of plans as you were sent out yesterday. Unfortunately, CEO of MySustainOnline, Peder, he has had a little accident. It's not very serious, but he couldn't make it for today. So unfortunately, he will not be here, but we plan to do another meetup after the summer where he will join with the MySustainOnline team. But we are here, and we also have two wonderful presentations to look forward to. First of all, Christina Carlmark, who is partnership manager at We Don't Have Time, but also climate reality leader with Al Gore's big, wonderful organization that has actually fueled up so much enthusiasm globally. And she will do her presentation first, and then after that, we will have our CEO and founder of We Don't Have Time, Ingmar Rentzhog, doing the Make Science Great Again campaign. So we look forward to that at 5 o'clock. And then we will have some questions as well, and then rounding up around 5:30 with some mingle and staying in the office as long as you want. So welcome, and to all of you who are here or online. And I leave the floor to Christina. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Johannes. Wonderful to see you all here, live and online. As Johannes said, I'm a partnership manager with We Don't Have Time, going back 3.5 years. And before that, I was in IT and telecommunications for 25 years. Digitalization is also part of how we're going to live more sustainably. I took this training for Al Gore 10 years ago. It was the year of the Paris Agreement, if you remember. And since then, I have delivered this presentation more or less 100 times to all kinds of organizations, big and small, schools, children, students, politicians, board members. This spring, I've been to Stockholm School of Economics, the master students. I've been to our partners, Vattenfall, with the management team, Volvo Cars, a lunch and learn session, and Volvo Group. It was a breakfast meeting and then a management team. So, and today I will do it for you. The Climate Reality Project started by Al Gore after first he made the movie An Inconvenient Truth, if some of you remember. And he got the Nobel Prize together with the IPCC for spreading this knowledge. Since then, people ask, what did he do after that? Since then, he's been traveling the world, telling them what I'm going to tell you today. Over 50,000 people have been trained, and pretty large classes. This is actually from 2018 when I retook it in Berlin with my daughter. And you become a climate reality leader. And in the end, I will tell you more about how that works if you're interested. Last training was in Paris, and I had the privilege of being a mentor. And I know some of my mentees are online listening to me today. That's nice. So, we're going to answer these questions. Must we change? Can we change? Will we change? And what can you do? How does that sound? It's good? It's good? So, this is our planet, our home, the blue marble. And when we went to the moon, what we actually found was Earth. It was the first time we could see ourselves from outside. This body, beautiful, the blue marble, full of life, thanks to climatic gases and an atmosphere. The only one we know with life in this universe. Of course, there must be more, but it's the only one we have. And life is in the atmosphere. It's the atmosphere that does it. The climatic gases, water vapor, oxygen, etc. And it's a very thin layer. It takes 5 minutes if you drive your car up in the air. That's all that helps us to be on this planet. In this very thin atmosphere, we spew out climatic gases daily, 175 million tons every 24 hours. And what's the effect? Well, we get solar radiation, comes in daily, heats up the planet and the ocean. Some of that radiation radiates back into space, and this has been in an equilibrium the last 10,000 years, making it very comfortable to be here. And if you planted in the spring, you knew you could harvest in the fall, because the climate has been the same. When we now add these climatic gases, CO2, parts per million, it becomes like, we call it the greenhouse effect. It's trapping more heat. So that's actually, it is science. It was actually a Swede who understood this late 1900s. He said, if we do this, the temperature will go up. So where does it come from? Well, we have industrial farming, we have oil, gas, we have transportation, industry, coal mines, we have forests that burn, and we have farmers that burn, we fly, we take the boat, etc. The largest contributor to that, to the emissions, is actually that we burn fossil fuels. And do you know when people knew, I talked about the scientists, but people in modern times, our times, when did we know that this was a really bad idea? Do you have any clue?
At least back in 1983 in the Rentzhog report.
83, 80s. And yeah, somewhere there, 70s, 80s. Then we knew, our politicians knew that this was a bad idea. And if you look at the graph, half of it is actually after we knew. If you do things you don't know are bad, fair enough, but we knew. So what's the consequence? This is an interesting graph. The blue one is the parts per million that I mentioned, and the white one is the temperature. And it goes back 800,000 years. And you can tell that they go together, right? So the question is, where are we today? And what's going to happen? And the researchers have said that we should not go over like 340 parts per million. It's somewhere here. Shouldn't be over that. And today, I think Ingmar even said that we are at 430 today. So if that happens, this graph will also go up, and that's what we're experiencing. We know that it's getting a little hotter. Here you have from industrial time, it was a little cooler till 2020. It's getting a little hotter. The hottest years have all been in the 2000s. And last year, 2024, was the hottest recorded ever. It's a little bit like having fever. Every day you not a lot of fever, but you have a little fever, and that's not good for your body. Paris, if you went to the Olympics, 36 degrees. Europe is warming really fast, and we know up in Scandinavia it's warming even faster if we go up north. Europe 2019 had a heat wave that people was not expecting so early. We probably thought it would take another 10 or 20 years. And in France, they had 45.9 degrees. Can you imagine? I mean, 45.9. Do you remember the summer of 2018? Anybody in the room? Maybe, yeah. We had no rain, right? Started in May, no rain. Lack of groundwater was, of course, a result of that. We were not allowed to barbecue. This one got to people because it was so dry. We had forest fires. We had lack of fodder for the animals, so we had to take out livestock in the fall, and crop failure. If this had been 100 years ago, we'd had a big starvation, I guess. And heat stroke. I mean, young people and old people have a hard time when it gets this hot. I have a house at Gotland. We had 29 degrees in the house and 29 degrees in the Baltic. So where do you go to cool down? Here you have 49 degrees in California, over 50 degrees in the Middle East. Here's a cooling shelter underground in China. And hot weather, 44 degrees this February in Rio. It's getting warmer and warmer. Hot air has more energy. And here, even a tornado in Germany. Our infrastructure has not been built for this. Here's a garbage truck, and it's sinking into the asphalt. And you can also see the same with airplanes. They're too heavy, and the ground can't hold them anymore. When it gets warmer, we need more water. We drink more water, our plants want more water, our animals want more water, energy drinks more water, and we will have less water. People, and you see the nuclear power plant here, people say that we need nuclear because it's so stable. Guess what happens in France, the warm summers? You have to turn them off because you can't cool them. For every degree the heat goes up, our crop yields go down, and we still have an increasing population in this world. And a large proportion of the heat that I talked about that comes into the earth goes into the oceans. I mean, 2/3 is a very dark ocean. And that concerned the scientists last year because the oceans are really buffering a lot of heat. They have been warmer than they've ever been before. And hot water expands. So what happens? You get a sea level rise just by making it hot. I also said it's more energy in the heat, so the storms we have get more intense. And when they then strike land, they make harder impact, like in Tacloban, Philippines. This is actually US, October last year. And this is Mexico. And these are modern houses impacted by hurricanes. The water cycle that your kids learn in school. The source for life. How do we make sweet water? Well, the air over the oceans become water vapor, sucks up from the ocean, comes in over land with the winds. It gets cold, it comes down, precipitation, rain, snow, hail, on the ground, and hopefully it gets to the plants. Some of it will go down to be groundwater, and some will go back to the ocean. What happens when we make the world hotter is that the air over the oceans hot air can carry more water that comes in over the landmass, raining at the same time, so you have more rain coming down on a landmass that's drier, so it can't take up the water, and then you get a flooding. So here you have one of those rain bombs. This is not a nice summer rain, it's a lot of rain on the same time. Here's another example. We start talking about atmospheric rivers. They have them in California. They come in from the Pacific Ocean. And here was Valencia. You remember the rain over Valencia? And you can actually see how these rivers are passing Valencia. And what was the result? This was the result. And part of it was because of political problems not telling people in advance that this was happening. They didn't have the system, they didn't have. This is in Germany. They've had a number of floodings lately. And this is in Gävle, Sweden, if you remember, a couple of years ago. This is happening all over the world. Even in Saudi Arabia, where it never rains. And suddenly it rains a lot. So you get this effect of lots of water coming in, raining at the same time. This is Australia. They got 1.9 meters in a week. Can you imagine? Somewhere here. And this is another effect. This is Norway. I heard the gentleman over here is from Norway. You have very steep mountain sides, and you have clay ground. And if you get a lot of water into the clay, eventually it might just get to be a landslide, just like this. So our infrastructure is affected all over the world. No one is not affected. We've seen some of them. The trains, the dams, the power lines, everything has to be adjusted to these things happening. And we've had storms and such before, but not to the extent. It's amplified 4 times since the 80s. And that's a lot. Okay. In France, some villages can no longer insure their housing. We have the same in Germany. If you remember, there were some valleys where they had flash floods a number of years ago. They can no more insure those houses. Who's going to bail them out? This is coming close to people's heart and where they live. It could cause a big loss in global housing, and that really affects our economy and our way of life. Moving from the oceans, we go to the landmass. So if you have hot air sucking up more water from the ocean, it will also suck out air from the landmass, and then you get drought. Here's in Poland. We have places in Germany, Spain. When we talk about Europe, where you almost get desertification. In South America, people go to that wall that Trump's building, not because it's just fun. It's because they can no longer work as in the farming industry, and they're looking for new employment. And here's the Amazon River. I was there 30 years ago. It did not look like this. So there could be over 1 billion migrants in the end of the century, and nobody wants to migrate. I mean, it's up to us to see that this is not happening. A warmer climate would also give us more fires, like we said in Sweden. We had it in 2018. The US, California, here is an example from Colorado, 100 more days with fire season. Here is Kårböle. We were not expecting that. If you remember, we got help. When it burned in Sweden in 2018, we had firefighters from Poland, the Baltic states. We had aeroplanes coming from the Mediterranean. We don't have the equipment. So it's good we help each other. Every degree of warming will increase the lightning by 10 to 12% that it strikes. And of course, when it's dry, it's a bad idea. Yet another perspective, we have glaciers. The closest big one is on Greenland. We also have huge glaciers on Antarctica. And then we have the glaciers that are water supply in the Himalayas and the Andes. Downstream, people use that for sweet water. Greenland ice sheet has 6 meter water in it. So if it melts, you get 6 meter. Antarctica has another 60 meter. And we will lock that in if we don't stop what we're doing. See what you don't see. I'm not going to ask you now, but just see this is someone who did playing around with 66 meters of water. That's the effect. Some countries are gone, like Stockholm. It's not a country, but Stockholm You see? Cities at risk. The big cities in Asia have a lot of people, the lowland. Money in the cities, New York, Miami, Tokyo, Bangkok, this is where people live. This is where our civilization started. Lots of money, and it's at risk. A last perspective, we have permafrost, thawing. It's also a medical emergency. China, sometimes it looks like this, sometimes it looks like this. It's a problem today in the big cities. We have too much emissions from cars, from industry, and that's a problem today. A child that is born in Poland smokes 1,000 cigarettes the first year. Not very good. It kills 9 million people every year. And waterborne diseases are also amplifying when we have the floods. Tropical diseases are moving. We have the ticks in Sweden. We have the Zika virus in North America. It gets warmer. It moves. And the animals, we risk losing them because this is going too fast for them. So that was all of the things that's actually happening with climate, with the climate crisis and the changing climate. So, must we change? Yes, that was the right answer. Thank you. Can we? Yes, we can. We have the solutions. We talk about the emissions. We need to go from fossil to renewables. And the IEA has determined, they have seen that we have all the technology to do what we need to do till 2030, the first decade, to halving the first decade, which is the most important step to do now. Lots of technologies that are already there that needs to be implemented, and there are under implementation. And then we need to halve every decade again, and for that we need more innovation. But for 2030, everything is there. That's good. That's good news. Oops, did we get the... This is interesting. Once we reach net zero, it's zero emissions. Global temperatures will stop increasing as soon as 3 to 5 years. And that's really what's needed, right? So net zero, 3 to 5 years, you will stop the increase. And if we halted them, what the day we actually halted, it would not take more than 30 years to absorb half of it. So it's quite resilient, the planet, but we cannot keep burning. We need to stop, we need to reach net zero, and then it will actually take it up again. Renewables are scaling exponentially. Wind, 47% of EU electricity in 24 was from wind. We have enough, 40 times over with wind. It was the second year, 2024, that we generated more electricity than gas in the EU. And it was the first year in the EU that solar generated more electricity than coal. So it's actually happening. Solar installation also exponential. Cost is coming down exponentially. And how long time does it take to install that 1 gigawatt of solar? It took a year in 2004, a month in 2010, a week in 2015, and 1 day, 2023. New solutions, local solutions, spread all over the world, as well as huge solutions. So small local solutions, huge efficient solutions. And with solar energy, new fuel cost, it's there. Supply chain risk, no. No price volatility. We'll actually do. We'll skip this one. But you can see the price is coming down. And they will be there forever, wind and solar. The others you have to pay for. 80% of new electricity added was renewable. And we will have storage capacity. It's coming. Here's another thing that was disruptive, mobile telephony, a new technology, just like renewables is a new technology. Why did it scale? Well, the cost dropped, and that we saw now in renewables as well. The other one, the quality improved dramatically. That's the same in renewables. And the third, all the low-income countries leapfrogged into the future. They don't need to make the same mistakes we did. So all of those are possible. Auto manufacturers, all of them are now going into electric vehicles, but we need another transport system. I keep saying that every car with one person is a waste of 4 seats. It's not full. The other one, Candela, the boat, you might have seen the flying boat, that's a disruptive. And now we have Candela ferries in our commuter ferries to Ekerö, a boat that's actually flying instead of being in the water. Energy efficiency, one of those areas, how to save energy. Use the waste heat, district heating and cooling, like Sweden has. All of Europe has to implement that the coming few years. Retrofitting, how do we do that? So everybody has a house that's not leaking and save your money. There is a huge energy conference on energy efficiency with the IEA that we will be present at. And energy efficiency movement is now a huge organization started by Alfa Laval and ABB for companies to actually implement energy efficiency. Circularity is another one, influencing climate issues. When you have material flows, instead of linear, you do it circular. That's less emissions. We have to design for dismantling stuff instead of for wasting them. We have to design for redesigning them. Product as a service instead of a product. And rare materials. Now Europe is looking at, how can we become resilient? Maybe by becoming circular. So those are the solutions. Can we change? What do you say? Yeah. Excellent. Will we? Yes, exactly. We have the Paris Agreement. It's 10 years now. It's to keep us under 2 degrees safe and aiming for 1.5. Halving till 2030. We have seen today it's possible. We have everything we need. The trick is to do it. Lots is happening. The cost is coming down. Again, this is key, and that's also an indication of that things are scaling. The cost of wind energy has declined 66%. EV battery packs 75%. Solar energy 76%. And utility scale batteries 87%. This is key. And one reason is that China 10 years ago said, we're going to be best at this. They are racing this, which is good for all of us. But we need to speed up even more. We need to peak the emissions. Europe started to go down. China is actually flattening before we thought, but we still need to get the global emissions to peak. We need to halve them by 2030. It's 5 years. How old are you then? And we need to reach the zero emission, like I mentioned, in 25 years. Think about how old you will be then. Okay, so what can I do and what do I need to do? I showed 1 planet in the beginning. Now I show you 4. That's kind of weird. But this is how we live, and that's not working. We need to get that down 15% annually. And what can you do? I'll give you a short, hand of what are the things that we all can do in our lives. We're all part of this. Have you calculated your own footprint? Do you know your exposure? Do that. Energy supplier, change it. If you have a house, you might have solar. If you live in an apartment, you can go for someone with renewables. What's your money doing? Your pension funds, your kids' money. Eat more greens and less meat. And no food waste. More organic, more local. Consumption. What do you buy, from whom and when? Every time you vote with that credit card, you make a difference. And when you do e-shopping, never return it, because they will just throw it away. Avoid single-use things. Soon they will be not able to buy in Europe. Transportation, more public, less empty cars, and more online. How do you climate compensate? Sort your waste. That's the start of the circular economy. Put pressure on your employer, your company. What are we doing? Put pressure on your politicians. This is for every party, not a left-right thing. Talk about it. Join a movement. Start a movement. And give climate love, warning, or ideas on We Don't Have Time. And what do you have to learn? This will challenge all of us. How can we learn new stuff? So, the reality tour with Climate Reality was in Paris. They're going to Nairobi, Rio de Janeiro, and Ulaanbaatar this year. There is an online possibility to look at Al Gore through Climate Reality Project and update your knowledge, listen to inspiring people, and join those who are using their voices, their votes, and their choices to fight for our common future. Because our planet, our world depends on it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Christina. And if we have any short, quick questions, please just go ahead in the room and ask Christina. She's available for a couple of more minutes. So any quick questions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Christina, for a fantastic presentation. And what is your argument when so many people are against this science-based idea that we are actually influencing the climate?
One thing is to go with the people who are with the idea and who want to change, right? So sometimes I get into those arguments as well. And most people, actually, when I lecture, they are really interested. It's very rare that somebody says, you're completely off chart. I had a long dialogue with students about nuclear, and my way of handling that one is to say, okay, if we're now going to restart nuclear in Sweden, when can we have it? Probably 2040, 2045. Fine. You can look at that. But what do we do till 2030? Try to get the dialogue where it needs to go, instead of fighting about if nuclear is good or bad. If you want to build it, but it's not going to solve the problem here now. So I would also say, go with the people that are open-minded, that see that this is happening. Taking a real fight is difficult. I've done this for the Moderata Partiet. It was interesting. So you might get yourself out there. But we need solutions. People can see that something is wrong. But then even more to the question, do we need to do anything, or should we just leave it?
Thank you, Christina. We have one more question there, I see. Maybe we can just pass over the microphone.
So I've been working a lot with the kind of information that comes through, and I would say that we are past the awareness stage, and we have problems still finding out what is it that we know that we can apply. And I think we need much more guidance when we go from awareness into action. how do you see that? You were touching briefly on education. I'm part of an ISO culture circular economy standardization group, so I'm very interested to hear your view there. How can we accelerate this?
Yes. One thing, if you remember the logos I had in the beginning, quite a few of them are companies, and then we do a workshop on when you have seen, the fast forward on what is actually going on. How does that affect their business? Do they have a plan that's good enough? What can they do more? How can they actually integrate this? So then you don't just leave them with this. You actually sit down and look at that to get people involved. Sometimes with the list of things I showed to you, usually I also sometimes give it to people so they can, what's your first step? We need to get moving. And you talk to your neighbor and say, I commit to eat green next week, or I don't know about my pension fund. I'm going to contact them. So you get a commitment that I will start to do this. But this is one of the tricky ones. Like you say, we know, but we don't do. And we have to do together, definitely. But also sharing what you do makes people kind of aware.
Thank you, Christina. There's one more question here, so please, floor is yours.
Yes, I was wondering, you had a hopeful picture there that is said that it will recover in 30 years after we stop burning fossils. But is that still true? And for how long would that be true? Because now we hear that the resilience in nature is trapping down.
No.
And how long more can we wait? Do we know?
It's the tipping points, right? I don't know. But we hear that the scientists are becoming more and more aware of, just like you say, for how long will the Earth be resilient enough? And for how long will the biomass take up as much as it does? It's already giving signs that it's less, and the ocean is not taking up as much because it's already hot. So we are approaching tipping points, and maybe this is what's needed for us to start moving and acting as a group, because we are approaching that. And the last thing, I don't know if we heard it at the training in Paris, but the scientists are also aware that the Earth shows signs of not holding the moisture, which is a dangerous tipping point, because we need to hold the balance of the moisture in the ground so we can grow plants, etc. So it's getting, I'm not the scientist, can't really answer your question, but we're getting into bad territory. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. One more question up here. Please pass the microphone to Cynthia.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, Cynthia.
Thank you very much for a great presentation, great lecture. So my question is, as you are talking about to make more people to be aware of the climate situation, how is this philosophy or this action be connected with make science great again? Because these are hand in hand. Because you talk about you answer the question, there's scientific questions and answerings. And then if most people don't know about it, then it's dangerous. So it is very important to connect these two.
Perhaps I can.
Can I
fit
just?
in
I'll give it over to you. I was talking to one of our shareholders earlier this morning when you came for the AGM, and he asked me, what do you do? And I said, I'm a partnership manager and I give climate presentation. He said, I need a climate presentation. Could you please? He was actually asking, could, like you say, we don't have time, spread this more so people become aware, so they start moving. And of course, over to Ingmar, how could that be part of Make Science Great Again?
Great presentation, Christina, and don't leave stage.
Okay, I'll stay here.
We are both trained by Al Gore.
Yeah,
that's how we met.
Yeah, we met through Climate
and it was
Reality.
Like 10,000 leaders trained by him when we met, and now it's 50,000.
50,000.
So Al Gore has been working tireless with training leaders, and when I did some research around, because what I believe in, all the actions you wrote there are helping. but I think we need to do more than that, because we are at another stage of the green transition and the climate crisis playing out. For many years, we on the time mission have been to speed up change. The change is there, we just need to speed it up, get people to do more. But there is another playfield now, because we are not working against those that are delaying things. We are working in a climate where people are attacking the people trying to change things. So people are firing at us. We need to fire back. That's the way we need also to do this, because we can do like källsortering how much we want, but if people are shooting us doing that, we will not matter. And that's what's happening. Climate activists are getting killed by thousands. In Sweden, we have people in parliament that are wanting to flag climate activists equal terrorism. I mean, we're living in a country. I mean, Donald Trump had one thing right. What is happening in Sweden? I mean, the people watching this from other countries. I'm living in a neighborhood where my daughter needs to stay inside because people are throwing hand grenades outside her school. That happened just a couple of months ago. People are, I mean, they're blowing up buildings. People are shooting people. It's murder every day here. That's a problem. It's a problem of criminality that we need to handle. It's nothing to do with climate crisis, but the climate crisis will make that problem worse because our society will break down. So, I mean, my point here, we have extremely big problem with gangs and criminality in Sweden. Donald Trump had actually right about that. But we're not talking about flagging them as terrorists. We have a debate flagging the people trying to protect the future as terrorists, but the people killing each other on the street, they're not getting flagged as terrorists. That's what we're up against. And if we're going to win against that, we need not shooting people, because I don't believe in that. We need communication. And if you look at global communication platforms out there, I asked ChatGPT about this. ChatGPT had quite big problem to list global communication platform that can influence the narrative. We on Time came number one. I maybe think it's because it was my prompting. But Al Gore Climate Reality came number 2. And there was some more 3 and 4, but not so many more than that. When I asked about the climate communication platform trying to work against the green transition, there were a long list. There was a lot of money there. So if we're going to win this, we need to spend and invest money in communication. And it's not just to win against people trying to cancel us. It's also needed in order to get the support. When we had the corona, the pandemic, we had a press conference every single day explaining to the citizen why we needed to stay inside. Why don't we have that? Of course, people don't understand why they need to pay more for fossil fuel if no one explained to them what's going on. So we need communication. And communication is something we need media for. And if you're an individual, you can help creating change by spending money to the media that are doing change, like me and Christina here, and also our colleagues in Al Gore organization and elsewhere. Communication is key, and we that are communicating, we are not terrorists.
No, we're not.
Okay, thank you so much. And since the speakers left the platform, I believe there will be no more questions. So thank you for this first session. Actually, now, we were supposed to have MySustainOnline here, Peder, the CEO, but he had an accident a couple of days ago, so he is not able to join us now. MySustainOnline has a unique tool for online climate and sustainability education. And we will do another seminar with them later after the summer. But if you're interested, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to connect you with MySustainOnline. And now, actually, we will have, for this day, second time Make Science Great Again presentation by Ingmar, our CEO and founder. So you guys who were here earlier today, if you feel like, okay, you can stay and watch it the second time. But if you don't want to stay, we have some snacks and some drinks in the kitchen. But you can stay, no worries. But it will be like, it's a test now. Okay. If you stay, maybe you get a hat. No, you won't, because you will have to pay you have to donate some money for that. Anyhow, please feel free to leave the room and go and take some snacks. The rest of you, please stay and listen to Make Science Great Again. Why do these guys wear the red hats? Now you'll have the answer. The floor is yours. Ingmar, please take the stage.
Right now, we are failing. The green transition is about to fail. And people all over are starting to give up, feel that there is no point of doing what I'm doing because people are not listening. Leaders are not listening. Politicians are going in the wrong direction. Big corporations are suddenly backing down from their climate commitments. If you don't work in climate in the forefront, covering also the stories that is about the progress, this is what you hear in media. This is what you see on social media. It's partly true, but there's also another story. And if we see the green transition in the same way as an entrepreneur see how to build a new company, there's a lot of similarities. I was speaking at a big conference for successful founders yesterday. And I asked the audience, a room full of crazy entrepreneurs, I asked them this question. Have you ever experienced that everything you have spent your career and time and energy on are risking of completely fail, to be destroyed? And every single one of the entrepreneurs in that room raised their hand, including me. I'm also an entrepreneur. My next question were, when you was at that point of total failure, that was also the point where you saw that you actually solved it. That big investment happened last minute, or the big client joined you, or something else happened that you break through, get that failure to become the success when you looked at it in the rear mirror. That is quite common success story of the entrepreneur. We have all heard similar stories about that. Many of the big companies we have today, the tech startups, they have been on the point of almost failing, but they were saved last time, because the entrepreneur behind it was so stupid not giving up, and somehow they made it. The problem, we don't hear the stories where that startup actually failed, because those entrepreneurs, they are not invited on stage to talk about their failure, not that often at least. So we don't hear about them. And what we see now is something similar with the green transition. We are at that point where we either fail or we break through. It will not be something in between. Either we fail or we break through. And when you are at that point, you need to work harder, not give up. And here, media play an extremely important role to share the insights about why we should not give up. Because why should we give up when we're starting to win? We should work harder. But the reason why things are moving backwards right now is because we are getting resistance. The reason we're getting resistance is because the green transition has become a threat to the whole fossil fuel economy and the ones that are invested heavily in this. So we need to make this a success, a breakthrough, and not a fail. Because if the green transition fails, it will fail every one of us. And the most frustrating question I got working on climate when I do things that are outside climate, dinners with friends and other gatherings, I think many of you here that are also working on climate are recognizing this. This is this question like, and it's not going so well for you in climate. Like it was a sport. Like, yeah, I'm doing football, you're doing tennis. Sorry for you, but you should switch to football. Climate concerns everyone, and we can't afford it to fail. It's not my concern because I'm just working with it. It's everyone's concern, and everyone needs to step up and get involved. Because if we don't, we are risking a collapse of the economy. Christina talked about droughts and floods and a lot of refugees, etc. That's all true. But leaders are often much more they don't understand that, but they understand the economy. And according to leading climate insurance expert actuaries that can calculate risks, there is 50% GDP collapse baked in the system if we don't change. And this will play out in our lifetime, the coming decades. And it will not start suddenly, it has already started. This will affect everything, your pension, your company, your way of living, the society. I mean, in Europe, we're talking about rearming Europe. We need to afford that. How will we be able to afford our security if 50% GDP collapse? How will we afford to live? Things are also going to increase in cost, etc. So we can't afford this to fail. We must make it break through. And the good news, most people are agreeing on this. Most people want this. It's not about convincing people that it's important to act on climate. People knows this. According to UN, there is a study, 80% of people globally want stronger climate action from their leaders. So they are supporting all this. But why is it not happening? Because we are worked against. Some special interests that are threatened by the green transition, they do everything they can to stay in power. So what they do, what they have done for a very long time is the same what the tobacco industry did. They fought for their business survival, fought for their power base of fossil revenues. So for many, many years, they have denied climate change. They have denied it happening. That worked for a while, but nowadays, when people walk outside, they feel the heat. So they don't believe this. I mean, most people knows what's going on. They know the weather is weird. So they've changed tactics and started to delay change. Saying that, yeah, but we can change tomorrow. We don't need to change today, etc. And thought that they will stay in power longer by doing that. That worked for a while, but not anymore, because now we have the economy. I mean, people are not buying fossil fuel cars anymore. They buy electric cars because they are better. So it doesn't matter if you say that you should not buy electric car. People will buy it anyway. People will buy the things that are modern and they are electrified. So delaying change doesn't work anymore. So now they have leveled up the resistance. They try to cancel science itself. And here's an example. This is the Mauna Loa Observatory on Hawaii. This observatory is kind of a measuring, it's getting the health of the atmosphere. And since the 1960s, they have measured every single day the carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere. And as you see here, it's going up. And last month, we passed 430 ppm. This is really worrisome. If you're a cancer patient, this is kind of when you're starting to spread this to the bones. You need to fight this. We can't just wait it out and see if we will survive. That's how it is. So what are the new US government doing about this? Are they calling for UN Security Council to say that we need to do something about this? No, of course they're not doing it. They try to end the land lease and kill the observatory, kill the data. That's what they do. This data is dangerous. It's terrorist data. Don't believe it, kill it. So people are talking about the problem today is that those that try to stop change are spreading disinformation. Yes, they do, but it doesn't work because people in the end will see what is true or not. But if people don't have the data, they will never know the truth. So they try to kill the data, and we need to stop that. And it's not just US, it's also here in Europe. One of the largest partners in Germany, they want to tear down all the wind power because they think they're ugly. So why is this happening? This is happening because we are a threat. Every technology that are threatening the fossil fuel economy needs to be worked against. That's how they're reasoning. And that's what we see now in geopolitics. Many things explain this. Everything from the trade tariff wars to the cancel of science. So why? Why is it a threat? Because we're winning. This is 2024. Wind and solar passed the fossil fuel in the energy grid. And it's never coming back. Fossil fuel is never going to win this. I mean, old technology, when you started to phase it out, it will be just speeding up. And in US, 96% of new power were fossil free. And it's not just in electricity, it's in a lot of sectors. New solar, scaling exponentially. Electric vehicles, batteries, scaling exponentially. And the forecasts are wrong every year, so it's just getting faster and faster. Exponential change is very hard to understand if you're not trained in mathematics. So I have another example, and Christina also had the same, so I'm glad that Gore also saw this. It's to explain how fast we're changing by how fast we're implementing the solutions. In 2024, the world installed 1 gigawatt in 1 year. 2010 it took a month, 2015 over a week, 2023 a single day. And this was not in Al Gore's presentation because it was not up to date. Last year it took 1 hour or 50 minutes to install 1 gigawatt. So people are talking about that we are going to build new nuclear power plants. Yeah, maybe good, but it will take not 1 hour. It takes a lot more time. Maybe we should try to prolong the existing nuclear power plants we have before we build new ones. That's another debate. I am not against nuclear power. I'm pro everything that is fossil free. We need that. And when we are transitioning to fossil free, we are threatening just not the electricity providers. We're threatening the old economy and those that are not changing. Like this, almost half all the ships around the world are transporting oil, coal and gas. If you own this ship, will you vote on Trump or will you vote on AFD or will you change? Some are changing, some are not. Let's have them not changing to change. Because this ship will not be needed in the future. We need to repurpose it. The good news with all this change is that we're also getting the emission down. Many countries are now decreasing their emission. Not fast enough, but fast. This is an example. Europe, we managed to drive emission down 8% in 2023. That was after the pandemic. The economy are growing, emission are going down. China, or emission are growing, economy are growing, emission have started to go down even in China. And globally, we are nearing to flattening it out. That's not good enough. But if we're not flattening out, we're never going to get it down. So that's the starting point. The problem, according to science, we need to cut the emission by half every decade. If we are starting in mid-decade, it will be a very tough journey ahead. It's not impossible, but it's extremely hard. And all the change we now see baked in, not the negative tipping points, the positive market tipping points. If we remove the resistance, if we remove the subsidies and those that are making the fossil fuel economy the cheap one, if we remove this, I'm totally convinced this will happen by itself. We don't need to eat more green because we will change our economy. We will eat more green by changing the economy. But it's not about changing individual behavior anymore. It's about changing the economy, and for that we need to change society. And we're very near doing that, but we need to make sure people understand what's going on. And what's going on is that we are in a change mode that are stopped, that are attacked. Remove that attack, and this is possible. And just one example, when things can change very fast. That's when institutions and people work together. That's when we change the power. And that's also a threat. And what I'm talking about, for example, the University Harvard, they have for long taught climate science, but they were not living it. So their students, they had a big campaign against our own university because they were told that we need to stop drilling oil, but their own university were investing in drilling oil. That doesn't make sense. So this was a lot of activity on We Don't Have Time platform where we had Harvard students raising this absurdity. And the good news, the institution Harvard, it took some years, but they listened. So they have now sold all their holdings in fossil fuel. And this is, of course, getting them in trouble, and now they're on the shit list of the Trump administration, because this is very powerful. So this also shows the media role. If we show those that are resisting so that they don't need to resist alone, we will resist and win that. So that's the role of We Don't Have Time. Our role is to amplify all those stories, like we did there for Harvard. And our mission is to democratize knowledge about climate solutions. People don't know what's going on. People know much more about the problem than the speed of change. And those power working against it, what they are most afraid of, it's not sharing knowledge about the problem, because they like that. Because if you only share knowledge about the problem, people will give up. And they love us fighting with each other, like, you can't be on the climate side because you're flying, so you're stupid. Or you bought an electric cars, but they're not sustainable, so you're doing wrong. I mean, this is the playbook, how you stop change. We need to get people to know what's happening and why it's happening and why we need to keep going. And that's the media role. And that's what we can do at We Don't Have Time. So at our platform, we get the leaders doing the action and we amplify their voice. And we also reach people high up in society, people in government, people in media, people in academics, business leaders, etc. So our job is to amplify the action out there. And when I started We Don't Have Time, people didn't know about the problem. People had no clue. And there was one person that were really good at awakening people. That was this person, now kind of famous. This is the first picture taken by Greta Thunberg's school strike. We as a media amplify this to our network. And now everyone knows about the climate crisis. It's not because of us. It's because of Greta Thunberg. She's a hero, getting people to know what's going on. We didn't do her action, but we amplified it. And now we need to amplify scientists, because they are not good at communicating, but we are good at communicating. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by putting the spotlight on all the stories where scientists are under attack, where the observatory you saw in the beginning. If millions of people know about that it's a risk of getting closed, it will not get closed, because we will vaccinate it before it's happening. Media are always reporting what's happening after the disaster has happened. We need to report it before so we can prevent it. That's defend. But we will not win this narrative by only being defensive. We also need to amplify science so people embrace it. So that's also part of this. We need to amplify all the solutions out there. When we have the science that actually can cool the planet, that can solve many things, and not only for climate, also for health, and how to cure diseases, and how to get criminals, how to handle that. Every problem we have, science has an answer. Let's put a spotlight on when it's working, when it's implemented. And lastly, we need to start listening to each other, because cancel culture don't work. The far right are now canceling science, but they have learned this from the far left. And the social media, they are kind of crazy. It's like, if you don't like something you see in the feed, you go and press cancel and unblock or something, and you get it out of your feed. But just because you get a crazy person not seen on your feed doesn't mean that that crazy person cease to exist. It just means that you don't see it. So you don't have any knowledge that there are people not agreeing with you. That's not how we move forward. We need to have dialogues, and that is something we're very good at. We don't have time. One example how we do those things. We are getting a lot of criticism and praise on our platform from our user base. And that when that's happening, we get the leaders that are praised or criticized online. We have a dialogue with them. And by having that in an honest way, fact-based, publicly, we can create change. One example where we invited the largest pension fund in Sweden to have a dialogue around their investment in Saudi Aramco oil that was as seen as many as not so sustainable investment. I had a 1-hour conversation with them, and when we broadcasted that, we got international media to write about it, and 3 months later they listened to what people said about it, and they sold their belongings. Not because we were saying that they were wrong, not because we were cancelling them and only moving the money out from them, but because we listened to their arguments, and we had our own arguments, and we asked questions, and we get other people to listen to this. And facts were kind of clear, so they changed. We need to listen to each other. That's important. It's part of the dialogue. We need to get that back in. So this is what we're going to do. And if you like this, you can support us make this happening. We are now raising funds by actually selling hats. Not selling, but we're giving away hats. Make science great again hats. To people that support us, donate to this cause. And what we're going to use the money for is to help science be great again by helping them communicate. There is tons of money going into stopping change, building that narrative. There is not much money or platform working to help change happening, educate about the progress and everything. We are one of those platforms. But if we can't fund our operation, and it's not easy to find money for climate communication among corporate sponsorship when they are afraid of communicating because it's dangerous for them right now, we will not be able to have our lights turned on. And I think that will be something that we can't let happen. And if you agree on that, help us turn that light on, and not only turn it on, help us make it the brightest light ever, so that that failure point where we are right now will be turned into that point, that moment in history where we saw the breakthrough happening. Thank you so much. And we have one last thing here, a little bit extra information. And if you can fix that, Peter. The way you can support us is to donate money to our foundation. And if you give us money, we can gift you back those hats. We have them in several colors. So if you don't like red, we have one white and green here. We have one, this is golden, so it's this is actually, you need to donate 100,000 euro, and this is yours. But my favorite one is red, because red gets attention. And what the climate movement needs now is not to just stay and be nice and green and polite, asking for people to change. We need to be red and mean and reclaim the color of change. And if you are running a company or accessing a marketing budget, you can also help make science great again by ordering caps. So if you're a company, why don't give away 100 red caps to your employees as a giveaway? That's a way to support us in two ways, both financially but also spread the word. But we can also do other things. Coffee cups. Everything we have here is super sustainable. Those caps are made with 100% recycled material, traceable, etc. Those coffee cups are made of coffee waste. Super cool. pens, paper, not made by wood but by stone, so you don't need to cut down the forest, for example. We have some more things here. Stickers, you can have a tattoo, but not a real one. If you have a real one, maybe I can give you this hat. T-shirts, shoes, sustainable material, just imagination. This is also a way of supporting this, but also advocating for it, because science is cool. We need to make science something that our younger generation not only want to defend, but want to become and make our society not only great, but amazing. Because humanity, we can do so many things if we are doing it peacefully, and if we do it together, and if we do it for the common good, and not only to become one billionaire to buy a bunker on a Hawaii to survive the climate collapse, as one of the larger CEOs of one of the largest social media platforms out there are actually spending his money on. I'm not spending my money on climate bunkers, because what's that for future to save? It's the future we have here, we need to say, not to survive in a disaster movie. So let it be the breakthrough and buy some T-shirts.
Thank you, Ingmar. And also, just to clarify, on those merch and all those hats and everything, your logo, of course, will also be there. So your company logo plus Make Science Great Again. But if you are here now and you want to donate money, how much do you need to donate to get such a red hat?
50 euro per month. And if you are lacking money, you can just donate the first month, and we will give you this.
Okay, so go online and use this. Yeah, actually, we can just switch it later. But we will leave the.
We don't have time.org.
Yeah, but we will leave the QR code here.
Yes.
After the presentation. So please go online and donate the 50 euros per month and show it to me or Ingmar, and then we will give you a hat tonight. So we will just leave the QR code behind here. Any questions to Ingmar before we go and finish with some mingle after the presentation?
I have a question.
Yes.
What has been the response
It has been amazing. I can show you some.
Try again. We need the question to be louder.
Thank you, Ingmar. A fantastic presentation. What has been the response for this campaign?
It has been amazing. We talked about this campaign at the largest climate conference in Europe that was in Paris 3 weeks ago. It was 40,000 people in the same building in Grand Palais in Paris. And people were fighting to get the caps. We totally ran out of them. So here was how it looked when we were there, and people were running for it. And as you see here, the red color spread. Someone even made this whole like hotcakes. And it was not only, climate activists that embraced this, but also leaders, business people, like Paul Polman, that were the ex-CEO of Unilever. He actually stole the cap from our partner UNDP, but I gave our partner UNDP another cap. And here is Nigel Topping, that was the climate champion for COP26 in Glasgow, for example. So we try to get as much support as possible, but this is also and one thing you can also support is with your time. So it is possible to support this not only by donating money, but also donating your time. And so far we have 40 volunteers that are helping us 1 day a week, and that actually represent 8 full-time employees. And normally you say a full-time employee is worth 100,000 euro per year in Sweden. So that means that we already have people helping us for 800,000 euro. So this is only going to be built. So when we get the money, we are using that money by people spending their time for free. This is actually something we have been inspired by one of the, I would say, my favorite NGO out there, and that is Doctors Without Borders, where you give money and the doctors are working for free, saving it. Not everyone at We Know Time works for free because we're not able to do that, but can we get a lot of volunteers, we can get so much more done. So this is also a way to help us grow this. And we also have got a lot of media attention contacted us. The largest news agency in China had 1 hour interview with me after that presentation, for example. And on Friday, I will have a visit from the German largest newspaper that are coming to this office to hear what this is all about. And we haven't even reached out to media. So the interests are high, but it's one thing. And also we also got an invitation from the Vatican to present Make Science Great Again to a science symposium they have. So the interest, many people want to see what's going on, but there is not so many mobilizing against it. And that's what we try to do. I can say just one thing. Not everyone loves what we do. And I'm not talking about the ones we are trying to kind of cancer science. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people that are so fed up around Donald Trump, so they think that we, by using his color, give him more attention. And this is especially people in US. Some react in that way. And the way I see it, communication that everyone embrace and love are not getting the attention. You need to be a little bit uncomfortable. It needs to be a little bit taking a stance to have a red cap. So you stand for something. You can't be like just avoided in the crowd. And what we do is not stealing the color from Donald Trump or anything. We are actually using ninjutsu. We take what they are good at. They are good at creating attention with red color. We're taking what they are good at and reclaiming it for our common good. And I think that works. But it will only work if enough people believes in it. So by wearing this cap, you're not only showing that you stand for something, you're also helping creating a counter movement that everyone on our side will embrace if they see enough people wearing it. Because when everyone see that they are daring to wear this, they will feel like, I want to wear it too. So that's what leadership is all about. It's to inspire people to get out of their comfort zone and get the courage to act differently. And if everything is just nice and green, that is not courage. So by being a little bit uncomfortable, wearing a red cap and a red collar, that on distance can be seen as something else, you dare to make a difference. And the more people we get to do this, the more enormous power can this create. And what I see now, we are not having any resources. We just talk about it to raise funds for it. And it's already creating ripple effects. So this is going to work, and it's going to become really big if we get the money we need to do this. But it's not only about the color, it's also very much about the content we are going to create. So the color is just to get attention for what we are going to say.
Okay, to be a bit time conscious, just 1 or 2 more questions and then we will wrap up. So floor is free for more questions. Okay, here is one question. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Ingmar. You're doing a great job and your organization is doing a brilliant effort. I am wondering, you were showing the exponentiality of all the new technology. Do we really have time to wait for the new technology to win over fossil fuel? Or what kind of sort of measures do we need to sort of take away fossil fuel? Because fossil fuel is still increasing in our economy. So we are only adding more energy production. We're not really transitioning the energy production.
No, I would say we are transitioning the energy production, but it's going too slow. So emissions are going down. Electricity, coal power plants are closing, but it's happening too slow. What can we do? I mean, what we are doing, what we should do is, what everyone should do is to do what they are good at. I'm good at communication, so that's what I see is needed. But many other things are needed as well. And I will say the most important thing is where you spend your money and time. If you fly, for example, not many people knows that it's absolutely possible to fly to Australia on biofuel. And that is not the perfect solution, but it is a perfect solution, because if I fly on biofuel, I will spend zero money funneled into the fossil fuel industry. And if we are starving the fossil fuel industry from the money, they will lose power. So vote with your wallet is super important, but as I see it, it's not about going to zero with emission. It's about encouraging the solutions, using the money to the green economy and take it away from the brown economy. But I mean, it's so many other things you can do, and the most important thing is to do what you like, what you can and what you're best at. Do that, and focus on doing that more sustainably and get others inspired.
Thank you. One more final question, and then
So just to answer your question, you and Ingmar talking about two different things, actually, because when you talk about the traditional industries, we're talking about power density. Until the science could solve the power density issue, we will always stay at fossil fuel, because, for example, you cannot melt iron ore by sunlight. Simply, you need 1,000-degree power density. So that density, until the science can solve the traditional manufacturing industry, a lot of traditional heavy industries could use power density as demanded, but with renewable energy. Until that is solved by science, we will always stay at this stage with traditional fossil fuel. So what you're saying is, yes, then correct, because the energy transition has not gone as we talked before, exponential rate, because of the limitation, because there's a people talk about Moore's law. There's kind of exponential rate of development in computer, in chips industry. But in energy, follows the thermodynamic, follows the law of physics. There's a limitation on how much you can grow. So therefore, we must be science-based and to see how we can grow new technology based on renewable energy based.
All right, thank you. So, is there one more final question before we wrap up? All right. Okay,
Yeah.
Christina, you wanted to explain or you wanted to ask something?
I wanted to say something.
Okay, but say you
Question
first,
first.
and then question first. Okay, I'll just give the mic then. We need to move out. Thank you. Here we go. And now we're wrapped up with our mics. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Congrats with the cable work here. I was just wondering, because you mentioned about amplifying the scientists' voices, and I wonder to which extent you plan to extend this campaign to other topics than climate. You've mentioned a little bit about health.
Yeah.
What I see is that currently there's an observation about the state of the world extends way beyond climate into biodiversity, pollutions, planetary boundaries.
Absolutely.
And I wonder if amplifying voices that are coming from more diverse scientific backgrounds would maybe also lead to a different narrative about solutions. When we talk a lot about renewables, and I come from this world as well, but there are, like, when you combine the input from many different sciences, your narrative on solution becomes quite different.
And most importantly, you reach an audience that are not interested to hear the climate aspect, but they are very concerned about other aspects regarding science. And actually, one of the dream dialogues I see us having with this campaign is to have a dialogue with an oil CEO, that we maybe disagree about the pace of the green transition, but we agree on that cancelling science and ending land lease for observatory measuring the carbon dioxide is wrong. And if we get that to happen, we move people to support science instead of creating enemies. I mean, we can't be friends with everyone, but we need to be friends with as many people as possible. I think that's the way forward. We need to unite people, and not everyone cares about the climate, but I think more people cares about having a science-based society that respects science and are also embracing science. And I mean, we have some countries on this planet that are educating engineers like they're going to take over. So it's also about, do we want to lead or follow? Here in Europe, for example, we need to embrace science. And US is a lost cause for many years. But if people step up elsewhere, I think we can make that happen. And science is cool. I mean, imagine what we can create with science if we have some imagination doing it.
Yes, thank you.
So yes, we want this to be as broad science as possible.
Okay. Do you hear me? Yes? Good. I promised you to tell you how to become a climate reality leader. ClimateRealityProject.org is the organization. You go there. You can already now do some online and listen to Al Gore's telling you what I told you and more. And you can sign up and they will tell you when the next training in Europe is coming. And we actually have 10 trained climate reality leaders in the room today. So yes. So when we wrap, we have even more online. I know there's more online. So when we wrap up, when we end this, I want them all on the stage here, so we can take a picture and share with those other 50,000.
I talked with your colleague running the Europe branch of climate reality, and she had a great idea. They have a vision to educate 1 million people, giving the presentation to 1 million people. And when people do that, we're figuring out how we can afford giving them a cap.
When they have trained 100 people, you would get the cap.
That means how many hats?
Lots. Many hats.
10,000. Yeah.
So that was all from me.
All right. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Ingmar. And thank you for being here. Do not forget to donate. Use your camera to get the QR code. Show me if you start to donate 50 euros per month. We'll give you a hat. Thanks for tonight. And now please enjoy the kitchen with some drinks and snacks.